This is the SMB Community Podcast, the longest-running MSP-focused podcast in the industry.
I'm James Kernan. My background's IT sales, marketing, and leadership, and most recently, M&A advisory services.
And I'm Amy Babinchak. I help MSPs run stronger, more profitable firms from a tech-first perspective.
Here, you'll find practical insights for MSPs and IT service providers. Powered by Small Biz Thoughts.
Hey, Amy, good to see you.
Hey, it's good to see you too, James.
Hey, we've got an action-packed agenda, so let's get rocking and rolling here. We've got some fun things to talk about today. Can you imagine? The first thing we're going to talk about is starting an MSP from scratch. Can you imagine that?
That was a long time ago, but I do think there's a lot of opportunities right now. So this is going to be a good conversation.
So we're going to start off with that, and then we're going to talk about shadow IT. We're also going to talk about the recently released Guard's new cybersecurity statistics report, and then also the importance of contracts when you're getting ready to sell your business. We're going to talk about that. Also, the Anthropic partner program, and then financing and finding the right financing partner. So you ready to get started?
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
All right. So the question of the week that came in was, I want to start an MSP, but where do I start? How would you respond to that question with someone?
Yeah, you know what? I've actually seen this question in some of the groups online where somebody says, I've been working for an MSP, now I'm going to go start my own, or I was working in internal IT, now I'm going to go start my own. And the first thing they seem to want to know is, what do they need to go out and buy? And I always think that's the wrong thing to start with. You got to start with some customers and, see what they need and what you can offer.
Yeah. That's, you stole it right out of my brain. That people, it's like, hey, you don't want to spend any money at all. You need to go find money, and you need to find that first customer. And without that first customer or that anchor customer, I wouldn't start anything.
Yeah. First find some customers. I know, when I started my business, I started with 6 customers, right? I had gathered them up on the side while I was working elsewhere. And then, once I had that kind of core group, I felt like I could go and start a business. I had some money coming in, right? Money coming in to keep me alive, money coming in to get the business, formed, right? You can do a lot of things before that launch day. Decide on a name, file, get your LLC set up, go find an accountant that you trust. Just do a few of these things, get those relationships going, go attend a couple of, your local chamber meetings or business group meetings, just kind of get out, get to know people, and then, then make your big launch, see what your customers are. And, you don't have to go out and buy those tools right away. The tools are going to come no matter what, right? When you start doing the work, then you'll realize, I need to get this, I need to get that, right? And you can start with those relationships then. But you got to have money first.
Right. This topic has come up multiple times inside our peer groups. And I remember writing a workshop lesson for this. And I found a really good checklist on the SBA website about starting a business. And then I catered it to an MSP or an IT shop. There's a website, ITSPU. There's a lot of great resources and educational materials for startup, young MSPs out there. Tons of information, access to books, framework, great information, but be sure to check that out as well. And I saw one of your articles, Amy. I wanted to talk about this today as well, about taming shadow IT. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I wrote a blog post because I think this is a really important piece that we need to add to your MSP services, and that is discovering all of the shadow AI that's in use with your clients, and then managing that, right? Which AIs you're going to use, which AIs are allowed in the company, which ones do you want to monitor their use of? We've got some great built-in tools in that. And everybody's going to be surprised when they actually do the discovery and find out, because It's not just, they've got 3 people using Copilot and a few people using ChatGPT. It's all these AIs that are surfacing themselves inside of the apps that your clients are using and inside the browser. So, when I did that for me, it was like 153 apps. And I did it for a client recently, an MSP client. We did it on them, and it was a similar number. And they were like, well, there's only 2 of us using AI. It was like, yeah, one guy's got 153 apps.
Wow.
He's just, really active supporting clients and doing things, going to different websites. All these AIs are hidden everywhere, but they all have the opportunity to cause data exfiltration, and we need to know what they are and monitor those and secure it. This is such a big deal for businesses right now that if your MSP isn't doing it, I think you're really missing out on a big opportunity.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so that article's over at thirdtier.net if you guys want to check it out. We're also talking about OAuth and some other ways that AI finds its way into your network specifically too. And there's some easy controls that are built into Entra, built into Microsoft 365 for you to manage all that.
So there was a recently released cybersecurity statistics report I wanted to bring up. You and I chatted about this a little bit. Guards released this. What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, they said that business email compromise is still the number one way that people are getting in. They're not breaking in. They're not phishing your password, although, that's an option as well. But they're just sending an email and spoofing a login, or, causing you to click on a link or something. So they're using social, social engineering to get in. So those unpatched CVEs on your devices are way less important than they used to be, because they don't use those anymore to break in. They don't need admin rights once they get in. That's a thing of the past as well. So business email compromise, we're seeing AI used as attacks, right? Another reason we just talked about controlling which AIs we're going to allow to operate on their networks, because AIs are being used to generate these attacks, and AIs are the operators. And, the big thing for me, and I've been saying this for a while, is they really highlighted that identity is where the problem starts. Identity is the thing that the hackers are after. They want your username, they want your token, they want your password. They are after your identity. And like I said a minute ago, it doesn't have to be an admin. They don't have to have admin rights to anything. They just want your identity, and they'll work from there. Really, MSPs need to retool what they're doing. Get rid of a lot of these legacy things. Refocus your efforts on where the hacks are coming in. Email, AI, and identity. Those are the big 3 things that should be at the top of your list right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And identity is the spooky one. And, on a professional level and personal level, you got to protect that with your life for sure.
This episode is supported by IT Service Provider University. ITSPU is built for IT service professionals who already know the technical side and want to get better at running the business of managed services. The courses focus on the operational fundamentals that actually shape outcomes: service models, agreements, pricing, customer service systems, and the front office workflows that keep things consistent as you scale. The training is structured and practical, with both live and on-demand courses designed to help you build repeatable processes and standard operating procedures, not just collect ideas. For MSPs who want clearer models and more intentional operations, IT Service Provider University provides continuing education and certification paths grounded in real-world practice. You can explore the catalog and see how it fits at itspu.com.
So I had run into this in our peer groups, and we had a heated discussion really about the importance of MSAs. So about 50% of MSP business owners I talk to that have a managed service practice or some type of managed subscription service, they don't have agreements. Okay. What's your thought on that? And does that help or hurt you when it comes time to selling your business?
Yeah, I see that exact same thing in the M&A work that I do too. It's like you're right. It's like half and half. And I get it. It can be an uncomfortable conversation. You've had this client for 20 years. They've never had a contract with you. I didn't like to have those conversations with my clients, so I just made my contracts auto-renewing. And then I would send out updates to the contracts now and then, but I didn't have to go through and meet with them about renegotiating a contract and re-signing up with us, right? I never wanted to have that conversation. That was a pain point for me personally. And maybe that's the thing that stops these people from getting contracts. But you have to have some sort of contract in place. When you go to sell your company, and you might not be thinking about an exit today, but at some point you will.
Right.
And you have to be able to produce a contract for every single client that you have. If you don't, the buyer's going to consider that to be a big risk item. They're going to flag it and they're going to devalue those. And you don't want anything in your business to get devalued. So you got to have those contracts. I'm surprised you had a heated debate in your thing. I can't imagine people defending not having contracts.
It's funny. I think it really roots back to the fear of losing the client when you put a contract in front of them. That's really what the root ball fear is, I think, with these people. But people get higher on their horse and they get excited. It's like, oh, we don't need agreements. We want to earn your business every single month. And, our word is our bond. And I've heard all sorts of creative excuses. I will just tell everybody listening, okay, your business is worth more with good agreements. And I'll say it a little bit differently, okay, because this is more of a sales technique. Hey, as technology business owners, we owe it to our customers to make doing business with us easy. We need to spell out the terms. We should automate payments. Amy brought up a great point. They should be auto-renewable. And hint, hint, there should be a renewable clause each year that we don't need written notice to increase the price by 5%, every year. So you make sure they're auto-renewable, make sure they're transferable. I have this conversation, it seems like multiple times a week now. And there are people that really passionate about it, but there's ways to make a different argument on this, like running a sales by customer report month over month for the past 5 years. And you can prove that these are all recurring revenue, but they don't have a contract. And that's what buyers are looking for. They're looking for contracts of recurring subscription income that's guaranteed. So without those agreements, it's not guaranteed. It's really hard. So,
right. That's exactly why they end up devaluing it, because to the buyer, they look at it and say, well, how long can I expect to keep this client?
Yeah.
And, without the contract, they don't have the opportunity to build the trust and relationship with their new client. Right. That contract gives them a little runway to make sure everything's going to be stable in the business. And that's how the buyer sees that. Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to provide that to them.
Yeah. And there's another vulnerability for really small MSPs. That's a one-man band, or maybe you've only got a couple employees. If you, the business owner, are the face of the business and you're looking at exiting, but you want to sell that book of business, Amy, I'm sure you'll agree with me, but that's the overwhelming majority of the people that don't have MSAs in place. Yeah. They don't have the contracts. It's not the big managed service providers. It's always the little ones that have never had them or didn't need them. But I encourage you, there's a lot of easy ways to get your agreements in place. But we'd love to hear from you. If you disagree with what Amy and I are talking about, reach out and let us know, and we could talk about that on the program.
Yeah, you'll find that your clients will sign the contract. I only had one client over the years that refused, and I charged them our highest rate and repeatedly told them that, you could save some money by signing the contract. He was just against it for some reason, but he was our client for 20 plus years. So I just had the one. All the rest went along with it, and no client disappeared because I brought a contract to them.
Yeah. So I also saw recently that Anthropic has created a partner program. You and I briefly chatted about that, but what What can you tell everybody about the partner program?
So Anthropic's partner program, though, exists, but is of limited benefit to MSPs. It's free to join, so that's awesome.
Yep.
You can join their partner program, but they are specifically looking for companies that are willing to get 10 people certified in Anthropic. And they're providing the education and certification program for free to their partners, but they want you to have 10 of them on staff. So they're really looking for those mid-size MSPs, and really they're looking for that mid-size development house and up, somebody who's going to be creating solutions. They do have an option in there to qualify for the partner program under consulting, which is probably where the MSP would find themselves. Once you cross that 10-person level, you can then begin to get your customers into enterprise agreements with Anthropic and save about 20% or so on Anthropic usage rates. So there can be some benefits going there. Right now, I think the main benefit for most MSPs will be to join the program, take the training, and get certified, just so you have that certification under your belt, and it'll give you a little bit more authority when you go to the client and they ask you about AI. You can say, oh yeah, I have, these 2 people that are certified by Anthropic, right? And that will carry a little more weight for you over the next MSP that walks in the door, and it's not going to cost you anything.
Exactly. Yeah, great point about the value of being a certified partner when a lot of your competitors aren't. It's free, and it gives you access to training and other resources that other people don't have access to. So why wouldn't you do it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, completely agree.
Tales from the field.
So, hey, I wanted to share a story with you, an M&A story, merger and acquisition, and it's about a buyer that I was working with. And any buyer that comes to me and we find a business that they are interested in buying, I've always said you need 4 people in your corner. You need 4 team members. Number 1, you should always have an advisor or a broker that you're working with to take you from the beginning through the transition. Person number 2, you should have a good M&A attorney. Okay, not a divorce attorney or a college buddy or a friend of a friend that does wills. You need a good contract M&A attorney with M&A experience. Okay, so a good attorney's number 2. You typically need a good tax advisor. Okay, there's tax ramifications on buying and selling a business, so someone that can help you there. And then if you're buying a business, you need a banker. It's always good to form a deeper relationship with the bank that you're working with now. Depends if they need an SBA loan or conventional loan, but I always encourage people to work with your local resources. And if needed, I've got resources as well. But the story I had was my buyer decided to work with their local banker. And so I stayed out of it. It's like, okay, great. You got that handled. They're going to give you a due diligence checklist of all the financial information that you need, the tax returns and all these other reports and documents. You get them that information. They typically make a decision and then they'll fund at the day of closing. So this was about a 60-day transaction. It was an SBA loan. Amy, listen to this. We get all the way down to closing, and we were supposed to close. It was December 30th. Okay, this was a few years ago. And that morning, he was contacted by that local bank via email, and he said, hey, sorry, we can't fund your loan. Leadership had made a conscious decision of moving forward this next year. We're no longer doing business in this segment. And as the day of close, they ended up saying no. Okay. And so fast forward after all the panic and people screaming at each other, it's like, okay, let's just go back to plan B. We've got other resources we could go to. You've got all the data library put together. Let's just get another bank involved and see how quick we can move. And the good news is that we provided all the information to bank number 2. They were able to fund this within 40 days. And the best part is the closing costs were a lot lower with this other bank, who was one of my referrals from the very beginning, but they decided to work with the local bank. So, the moral of the story is I think it's always important get 2 or more quotes so you can kind of encourage people to sharpen the pencil. But you always need a plan B with something like that, because it's nobody wants to be in that situation where the rug gets pulled out from underneath you at the day of close. Amy and I would love to hear from you. So if you've got a question of the week that you'd like to present, or any comment on anything that we're talking about, or a current event, reach out to james@kernanconsulting.com, or you could submit a video clip up on the smbcommunitypodcast.com website. So I'd love to hear from you. So that's it for this week. Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening and/or watching. Dave breaks down the IT news of the day on his show, The Business of Tech, with bonus content on the weekends.
Watching this on YouTube? Be sure to like and subscribe so you always know you've got our latest episode. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to use the contact form on the SMB Community Podcast webpage. That's smbcommunitypodcast.com. Or leave your comments on our YouTube episode page. Produced by Picture This Video. Part of the MSP Radio Network.